Okay. Well, welcome, ladies. We are back for another episode of the In Transition podcast, and we're so excited to be with Virginia James today, someone I have had the pleasure of talking to many times. Corey is meeting for the first time today.
Good to meet you.
I wanted to tell you a little bit about Virginia before we just jump in and start talking about her story of transition. After having a variety of job titles, Virginia calls herself an anti-career guide, which I love. Why? She helps women remember they're more than a job title. And who does she work with? She helps millennial women at a point of career transition get clarity and shift from soul-sucking work towards soulful living and work-life balance, something we all strive for.
Yes.
The WTFs get minimized and clarity and confidence get a boost. Plus, they get a unique to them plan of action when they wrap up what she calls the ZPB, or the Zone of Purpose Blueprint. She tells us we can all spin our wheels wondering, what's my purpose? Why am I even here? Corey and I have probably had this in our heads on the daily for a long time.
Yep.
And she did this herself until she found her zone. So Virginia, thank you so much for being here. She's going to talk to us today about finding her zone.
Yeah.
Even when it's hard, right? To live in that zone.
So hard. Yeah. And, one thing I want to add to is like to those who are listening, we live in a world that challenges us. Sometimes it's beautiful, but sometimes it challenges us, right? And so, I'm here to walk with you as listeners, also as Corey and Lauren, like here we are in community, and, reflect on what your path forward can look like. And so you're not alone, and there's no one like you on this planet. It's key. Everyone's like, ooh, snowflakes. It's real. Unicorns. It's real, right? We're all unique in our being and our makeup. So you're here to do some beautiful work, be it in your professional roles, your personal life, or even within yourself, which is huge. And this is critical for your expansion and how we continue to pay it forward for the women coming behind us. I just had to add that on the back end, right? Because it's important.
Yeah. Thanks for adding that, because we do. And we're big, Corey and I, we talk about paying it forward a lot and having these hearts of service. So thanks for that. We're going to jump right in. We always start with the same question. So everyone's familiar. What was the catalyst for you for making this transition to finding your zone?
Yeah, so I've actually burned out twice, lucky me, in about 2017 and 2020. Different reasons though. So, and I can always give another backstory in a different episode, but I think that honestly, it was just me saying, fuck this, right? It was me not fitting in systems that I was trying to work in or live in or be a part of. And for me, it's always 1 or 2 years into something. And then I'm like, oh, I'm out. This is not worth this shit, or I just don't fit into what they're asking for. And so with like my zone of purpose, that's what I call it. That's kind of my phrase. I think that it was a whole lot of things, in over the years, but it's like micromanaging, teams that are toxic, workplace cultures that don't know or don't give a shit who you are. They say they do because you're family, but it's really not like that, right? Or it's a very dysfunctional family. And so, it's been a lot of different things actually, Lauren, that kind of brought me to the screw this moment, and I've dabbled in the idea of business ownership. I didn't grow up at 12 saying I'm going to be a business owner, an entrepreneur. Some do, which is amazing. But I think that for me, it was a lot of little things along the way, to take note of. So yeah, but I'm happy to dive into whatever you want to know.
First of all, can I just acknowledge that I feel like that your first burnout that you're talking about right now. So Lauren knows she and I have this phrase, in the year of our Lord 2023, we are just fresh out of fucks to give.
Totally true.
It's just fresh out. And I feel that like as soon as you said that about this burnout, you're just like, fuck all of this. Like I'm done. Just I cannot, I will not, I should not, I'm not. And
yeah. And I got to add something to this since you said that, Corey, because I didn't bring it in this morning because this is a beautiful conversation. But when I was in the micromanaging world, in my last job, we'll say, I saw this mug on, I don't know, Etsy or online or something, and it has like 0 written out, a fox, and then to give underneath the fox, right? And I was
we
like,
need these.
We need
no,
those.
no, maybe I can find where I ordered it.
Yeah,
This was,
I think we're gonna need these to have on the episode for the
So we
video
could just,
portion.
maybe.
I know,
like,
right now it's
in
just
transition
plain
logo,
ceramic.
Or
like,
you know what? We're gonna have them made, Corey.
We'll just get them made. We'll just find we'll just find a woman
Yep.
that, making them at home, support a small business,
Mm-hmm.
give her
Yep.
some fire, give her
Exactly.
some love.
Yeah,
I love that.
Maybe even a t-shirt, hoodie,
I know.
some stickers. I could go on and on. Let's just stop.
I know. It's
Yep.
like the swag, the zero fucks swag,
The
basically.
zero fucks
Yeah.
swag.
Yeah.
Just, damn.
I love it.
Yeah.
So
Sweet.
I'm really curious because burnout has been a theme on a couple episodes now, right? This
Really
moment, yeah, like that's a big catalyst moment for people of like, I can't do this anymore.
Yep.
This isn't working. Fuck this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's scary at the same time,
Mhm.
right? To like walk away from everything that you've known to that point
Mhm. You're leaving
and
your
take
safety
a
net.
risk.
You're leaving your safety net.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to
Yeah.
us about what you were feeling in that moment.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the 2017 version 1.0 of burnout for Virginia. So I was working full-time in student affairs at a university. I was also doing a full-time PhD program. And so I was running off like mochas, espresso, caffeine, stress, zero sleep, whatever. And it's not that my story is unique. I know there's plenty of grad students who do a lot of different things all at the same time. So not minimizing that at all. But for me, actually about 2 years in, I was like, God, I don't even like this degree or this program. And this is what's so shitty about it too, though, because, and it's very applicable to our conversation, because I have wanted a PhD. I wanted to be Dr. James for years. Like
It's got
some
a good
people,
ring to it.
It has a
there's-
good ring to it.
It's got a real good ring.
like Dr. James bitches like that. Yeah.
So
Right.
I'm
You know,
here.
not just Virginia, but
Yes.
Dr. James.
No, it's
Yeah,
not doctor.
Yeah.
Dr. James.
Capital D. Yeah. So
Mhm.
like, but I was in it, and the reason why I did it is because long story short, bachelor's in history, master's of social work, years of work in there. And then I was like, well, the PhD in sociology makes sense, right? It makes sense logically on your resume / CV. Well, I'm in it and I'm like, God, this, and it, there were a lot of variables to it. We don't have to get into it today, but I noticed my hormones went shit. My body went shit. Mental health, and this isn't to minimize any other mental health things or needs of others, but like I've already had a lot of trauma in this lifetime and a lot of stuff. So like, for me, I'm on robot mode. That's how I respond to stress. I don't feel, I just go. So like, point is, after a couple of years, my body was out of whack. My mental health, I was robot, and it was coming to a head, like a cusp. And I remember doing this meditation, and I was deep in it, and I was just like, I just need more peace. I need more peace. And it's like, all of a sudden, I knew I had to quit the program. I just had to. And it was gut wrenching, like soul wrenching, because that's been a dream for years, right? Some people dream of being an astronaut. I guess I dream of being like a researcher, but and a total nerd for life. But that was the catalyst, because I could see things were breaking down, right? And it wasn't a big cliff jump. It was like gradual. It was slow. It was a slow burn of burnout. And so that was that. And then the second one was micromanagement, toxic work culture. And I was like, fuck this shit. This is done. So it's just like, for me, it was kind of the crescendo of experiences. And in burnout, a lot of times we go, oh no, it's not a big deal. Oh wait, no, I'm not going to listen to that voice that's screaming at me right now internally. But it is, because eventually that voice is going to scream, or something's going to literally break down. Right. Yeah.
I always say the body keeps score. It does. And there is a book.
It's
there is a great book about that.
Yeah,
so yeah, definitely. I think that's a really good thing for our listeners to be aware of. And, I think more and more women are becoming familiar with this concept that you can't really hide from the stress or the burnout in your life. Like, it's going to catch up with you, and a lot of the times in a physical manifestation.
Yep.
And that can vary. I mean, I've gone through stuff where I've had GI issues.
Yep.
And trying to figure out like why is this happening, or why am I getting migraine headaches, like all the things.
Oh, the migraines. Yeah. Yep.
So that's a
Mine-
good tell.
Mine
Definitely.
invested in like a week-long stint in the ICU.
Oh
just
yeah.
Yeah, just like thinking I had the flu, you know, thinking I had bronchitis. I was in my busy season. I'll just push through. I'll just push through. I'll just pop a Z pack. I'll just push through. Robot
Yep.
mode, you
Yep.
know, and realizing, oh wow, I had a blood clot in my lung and I'm septic, you know. And then but me telling my mom, she like takes my laptop away, you know, takes it, because I drove right from the office to the ER. She takes my laptop. I still have my phone, and I'm like, could you bring my iPad,
Oh
because
my
I can
gosh.
watch better TV shows, and I have this app on, and you know, and the closed circuit hospital television is trash, still working, had IVs, all been pumped up, still working, you know. And you
Oh,
have to
yeah.
get to that
Can't
space
stop.
where you're just like, to that space is like, you had to realize you're expendable first and foremost. You
Mhm.
know, they'll cry for you if you, heaven forbid, pass away.
Right.
But after your funeral, somebody's going to go pick up your slack and
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And
Yeah, you're just a
yeah,
number, like down. Like,
they're not going to bleed for you.
No.
I told a coaching client that a few weeks ago. Your job is not going to bleed for you. You have to bleed for you. You
Mm.
have to, you know?
Fuck yeah.
Well,
Totally.
and why do you think, and this is for all of us, why do you think as women we feel like it has to get that bad before we do anything about it?
Ooh.
Like
Good.
we have to hit like our proverbial rock bottom before we're like, you know what? Something needs to change. This isn't working for me anymore.
Versus
Right.
seeing the signs like
Yeah,
for a
Yeah.
year
being
or
like,
5.
No, it's a figment of your imagination. No,
Yeah.
you're not having my
we
brain.
gaslight ourselves.
Yeah.
We go
Yeah.
like, no, this isn't really happening. Like,
No.
you know, it's a busy season, to your point, Corey. It's just
If,
busy.
like, literally had the horrible infection taste in my mouth, and not to get all graphic, like knowing that there was something wrong. I was like, oh, I just have bronchitis. I'll be fine.
It's good.
It's a busy season. I just need to get through the next 2 weeks, and then I'll go to the doctor. You know, just I'm fine. It's okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that kind of happened to me too. It's just like, you know, the physical symptoms like migraines, you know, or your stomach, or like, you know, for me, I mean, just to share, especially if women are here listening, or it doesn't matter your identity, it doesn't matter. But like, you know, I was like bleeding once for like 2 weeks. And I was like, and even a girlfriend of mine, she stopped mid, like at the university, we're crossing the campus. And I was like, blah, 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 you know, whatever, this is happening. And she literally looked at me. She's like, Virginia.
That's not
That is
normal.
not normal.
That's
And
not
I'm just like,
normal.
No.
really? You know,
Really?
I'm like, oh, maybe I'm just one of others that
I
go
bleed
through-
half the month every month.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
good. I'm fine.
Normal.
I'm
Okay.
fine.
Oh, and she's
No.
like, you could talk to a doctor or, you know, or whatever about
Well,
that. And I'm
I could go off on a whole tangent about the medical system and like how they gaslight us, especially women's health. That's a
Fine.
totally
It's
different
okay.
conversation.
Mhm.
Like, bottom line, ladies, if you're having symptoms and your doctor is gaslighting you, find a new clinician.
That's not your doctor.
No,
not your
that's not
person.
your people.
Let's
not
find
your
you another
person.
one.
Yeah,
Mhm.
be your
Yep.
own advocate.
Yep.
Your
Mhm.
own
Super
advocate.
important.
Mhm.
Listen out if you need to, because I've done that. It's fine.
Mhm.
I've like
Yeah.
literally warned my mother at times, like, look, I may be 5150 after I finish having a conversation with this person,
Mhm.
so you may want to come with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shit's about to get real.
Like, it's going down right now, Andrea. Okay, that's
In
my
the
mom.
waiting
Hey, Mom.
Yeah.
But
Shout out
yeah.
to mom.
Yeah, shout out to Andrea. Love you, Mom.
Oh yeah, and actually I got it. Sorry, I have to side story for a second because it's another case example. So when I was in the PhD program, because damn it, I was gonna get by the time I was 35. I am not 35 now, you know, still upper 30s. But I'm like, my heart hurts. But I was actually going to my OBGYN, and she's badass, you know, residence in the Navy. She's really, really great, especially in the space and rural space I was in. But anyway, I walked in and I was just like, I had gone from PhD course or exam, drove 45 minutes to get to the appointment, and I was rushing, like usual, rushing, right? Fucking get there. And they're doing, you know, blood pressure and all the vitals, you know, when you come in for this kind of checkup. So before anything got started, I could hear through the door, like the nurse or whoever that is, the tech, you know, was talking with her, like, she should not have this blood pressure level for her age. And I was just like, oh, maybe this is, and I,
There's something
you
there.
know, yeah. And she comes in, she's like, you a little stressed. And it's like, yeah, I am.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little. And but it goes to show, like, even now I'm repairing my body 5 years later,
Wow.
about 6 years right? And through like, trying to take care of different providers. And so that's something I want to say real quick before we move on is like, we have to take care of ourselves today. So
Yeah.
it's not worse down the road and we have to make up all that time or that effort or, that energy to say,
Yeah.
body, I love you. I'm here with you, not trying to run you into the ground anymore. So
to that point, so like just the one shining light I do feel about my health, my health insurance is that, they're now being very, very proactive in, wellness, mental, physical, emotional. And so I just joined this program. No, by no means this is a plug or anything, but if you all do want to sponsor our podcast, let us know. Better Health. That's BETR Health. And it's like it's an app. I have a health coach. I actually just met her earlier this week. And she asked me one of my reasons for doing it. And I'm like, I'm going to be 50 in about a year and a half. And there's a lot of stuff that's happening for me that I've prayed for, I've manifested for, I've focused myself for. I'm not missing out on anything, and I'm not going to shortchange myself. And, taking care of your body, looking inward and eating the right stuff and getting in, like pushing back the work and just being, nope, not today. I can't do it. I was telling Lauren yesterday, I took an entire day off of work yesterday, the beauty of being self-employed, but I took an entire day off yesterday to go to an elementary school and read to kids. And it was the best thing on the planet. It did so much. I was exhausted. I was asleep by 6. Lauren, that's why I didn't answer text messages, because I was knocked out. But
kids do that.
Kids do that to you. I can speak from experience.
Like, I was just like, oh, so this is what it would be like? Oh, we may need to reevaluate some things. But it was the best thing on the planet. I smiled, I laughed, because it was so good for my mental health. Physically, walked around campus a lot, but you got to take care of yourself. You have to, before you just don't have that privilege.
Yeah, 100%.
It makes living out your purpose that much harder, doesn't it? When you have
really,
to deal with
hard to do when you're
the bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, 2 low points. We call them the burnout phases. So were there turning points at either stage where things were getting better? Obviously, in the middle, something happened again.
Yeah.
But were there turning points? You said it was like kind of a slow burn.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was hard, like, as you're navigating that. But was there a point where you're like, you know what? Starting to like turn the corner.
Yeah. So like, to try to bring this down into like a minute summary. So when it's kind of funny now, still working itself out in the universe, but when I quit the PhD program, even a number of months later, some of the faculty said, we would love to have you back. And I was just like, I'll think about it. Thanks. But I had to be very careful, admittedly, because of the politics or dynamics. It's a smallish campus. It's a small town, that kind of stuff. Right. So I had to be I'm very aware of those sorts of things, I guess. But the turning point, 2 points. One, I got my nights and weekends back, right? Instead of writing or researching, because nerd out for a second, I was thinking of spatial analysis with slavery data. And, because I'd done, human trafficking conferences between social work and PhD program. So anyway, so that kind of stuff fascinates me, although it's a very ugly, ugly aspect of history and our contemporary reality. That being said, anyway, so that was a transition point. I was like, fuck, I guess, what am I doing with myself now? I can work out. I can just sit here, and I love reading. I'll read like 18 other books that are not academic, but the biggest turning point is it launched our move into Washington State, because I transferred to a different program, not a PhD, but a master's in history, which I'm working on right now. But the point is, we left, let's say, South Dakota, and we came to Washington State. So that transition literally was huge, and we're still here, and we're meant to be here, and that's a whole different show. But I don't fit the Midwest personally, for so many different reasons, in my own identity, how I operate, what I believe in, all of that. But when I was going through the Rockies, and you're chugging up in a U-Haul, you're like, this shit's getting real. We're going 25 miles per hour, but shit's real. And this is amazing, because you had to do the baby steps to do that, right? So like, that was the turning point. I was moving to a beautiful place, I was leaving the bullshit behind. And so that was a healing balm, physically leaving. Sometimes people need to physically leave. We need to mentally leave too, and be like, fuck y'all. But like, we have to sometimes root ourselves somewhere else. And I understand that's a privilege to do, right? So that was a huge huge move for us and me, because I'd been in the Midwest, for like over 20 years,
Oh, wow.
growing up and stuff. So yeah, so it was a big deal. Mm-hmm.
I do have to echo your sentiment on the Midwest. And sorry for anyone listening that lives in the Midwest. This is not a dig at the Midwest, but I think when you get exposed to other places and other ways of thinking, like I grew up in Southern California and spent time in more progressive places. When I was dumped in the Midwest for the brief time I was there, I was like, I can't do this.
It didn't fit you.
It does not fit me. These are not my people. This is not how I think. And I had a young person at the time too. I had a young child, and I was like, I want more for him as far as the way he thinks in the world and what he sees. So that was a big catalyst for me. And that's another episode too, of like moving. Because like you said, sometimes you have to physically leave situation. And I've had lots of instances of that in my life where it's like, I'm already mentally gone from here. I need to be physically gone.
And, and like you did say, to your point, you do recognize that the privilege that you had in order to up and physically leave. And even for those that, aren't in a space to have that privilege for whatever reason, there are still things that you can do in that space to at least kind of get the ball rolling. Like if it's a certain group of people that you associate with, don't associate with them. But you have to want it for yourself, and you have to want it badly enough for yourself to do that. I had one of those phases where I didn't physically leave. I would love to physically leave, but real estate in California where I want to move, I'm just going to stay here. I'm just
right now.
Right now. Nope, not right now. But you just need to, you still have the ability to physically distance yourself from those people, places, or things that are still causing you that ick,
Yeah, we just got to get creative.
Exactly.
Well, and I hear this theme too of like trying to rid our lives of certain toxicities. And that can be in places and it can be people. And it was a big reason I chose to leave Southern California actually at one point. Again, like I grew up there, and it's more my mentality. There's parts of it that are, and then there's other parts where I'm like, I don't identify with the hustle culture and the superficiality and chasing things and not really focusing on experiences and people. So I was like, I need to be out of here. So speak to us about like identifying toxicities in your life. And like the purge, like what does that look like for you? Because I think we all approach it a little bit different. Like, how do I start getting this stuff out of my life?
So like one thing I can share wisdom about is when you see yourself in conversations and you're doing the empty smile, the bobblehead thing, like, oh, okay, or you're kind of reducing your own power, your wisdom, your intellect, all of that, right? However you are as a being, and you start reducing yourself in front of other people to make it, I admit, safer or, less toxic, or you're just trying to get through your freaking shift or whatever, that's a sign. That's a really, really big sign because, and I think that depending upon our work cultures, especially, or if we're in a point of transition within our soul and our own being, we already feel shaken up. You know what I mean? And so like when your stomach is off, like, or your chakras, depending upon your belief system or whatever, your core, your physical being is off. And I understand for those of us who are kind of type A, like I am, we're already like a racer. We already go, we're already hyped up, quote, hyped up. But when things start shutting down or feeling really deeply off and you sense it, we all need to increase our awareness on that kind of stuff. But as you start sensing that and you get into your car or whatever, your bike or whatever you're doing for your commute, and you're just like, God, I'm drained before I even go on the commute, or even especially before I get there, right? Or when I get there. So like, that's a sign. That's a sign that something doesn't fit. And in terms of sheer toxicity, like micromanaging, toxic work culture, it comes back to what's your own like compass. What is your own integrity? and your values and even your comfort zone. Do you feel discomfort when you're in a system like that? Then maybe it's not meant for you.
Yep.
And I know that's a whole nother show too, but it's just like, when you can sense not just within yourself that something's off, but in the system or the
Yeah.
surroundings,
Yeah.
or like in my case, I was social work, academia, nonprofit. So like, is it the stakeholders that feel off, right? Are they off? Like in my kid, I worked with youth, right, for a little bit. So like, are the kids feeling off too? And they're already shaken up in their
Yeah.
situation. What's happening here? So we really have to open up to that and go, let's speak truth to this.
Yeah.
Right? Let's speak truth to toxicity.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay to just call it what it is. And then
Yeah.
you have to call yourself what you are in the best sense, right? Oh, I deserve better than this. I'm going to make a game plan to figure this out. And if I don't know the right variables, I'm going to find the people who can help me figure that shit out. So
Yeah.
that was a lot. Did I answer your question, Lauren? I don't know. That was a
Yeah.
lot.
I mean, being able to identify it, name it and speak out against it, I think is huge. And it's something I think as women, we're so used to being the good girl, not speaking up, not making waves, right? This is like how we were raised. Like, just don't
Don't rock
sit
the
back
boat.
and take it. Don't rock the boat.
Don't rock the boat. Don't make
Um,
waves.
Because I've been in work cultures like that too, where
Mhm.
maybe it's not even happening directly to me, but I'm witnessing it with other people.
Mhm.
And it's really hard to watch, and it becomes really hard to sit back and do nothing.
And I
Yeah.
think even to your point, Lauren, like, if it's not even happening to you,
Mhm.
you can also still, I don't think it's too far of a stretch to even think, but eventually it will,
Yeah.
like it's happening to Jane.
Mhm.
So it's just going to be a matter of time before it happens to me.
Mhm.
And
Well,
yeah.
yeah. And to your point, if it happens to Jane and I speak out in support of Jane,
Yeah.
watch how quickly it's probably going to turn
Watch
to
how
me.
quickly it's going to snowball and happen to you.
Yep.
Mhm.
And
Because
that's a tell.
And then you're not because then you're not a team player.
No.
But then you have to start asking yourself, what type of team is this? What type of team am I a member of? It's definitely not a together everybody achieves more type thing. It's no, this isn't who I am. This isn't my get down. I gotta go.
So let's flip it, Virginia. On the flip side, how do you know when you're in like this soulful place where you're supposed to be, when you're in your zone?
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of the way I look at it is it's kind of related, but and this I talk about in my program or in other spaces, but when we have our head down and we're like, we're told to do this, we're told to be on this path, I need to do that, like my logical social work to PhD in sociology transition made sense, right? The hustle makes sense because we're all used to it. But when you're in the nitty gritty, but something's feeling off, I think like I liken it to like you if you're on a trail, I don't know if you hike either of you, but like you're on a trail.
Yes,
Okay, no, it's okay, Corey. Yeah. So like
I'm Black, we don't do that. I'm just kidding.
Oh, Corey, if you come out to Arizona, I'll get you on the hiking trail.
I mean, honestly, low key, I do like it. It's just I'm not really a nature person. Like, can we hike inside? Like really legit mall in Scottsdale that I would totally hike with you.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
We can call it a hike.
Yeah.
I'll wear Timberlands. It's fine.
There you go. It'll feel natural that way.
Maybe I'll wear a flannel. It's fine.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you already are though. So you're halfway there. So
No, half the battle right there. Okay.
yes. Yeah. But so it's like I kind of liken it. We have our heads in the weeds. We're in the toxicity, we're in the culture, we're just saying, but this is all there is, right? Well, with the zone of purpose, as I call it, right? You bring your head up out of the weeds and you also start saying, okay, so if you've ever been lost on a trail, Lauren, Corey, we won't get you lost. Don't worry about it. But
it's terrifying. It's terrifying.
Terrifying. You're
especially
just like
when your phone doesn't work and you have no GPS.
Totally true. I know. Don't worry, Corey. It's okay.
No, I'm
So,
like all of this. No,
like
no.
not happening.
Nope.
Yeah.
You have to truly rely on your intuition at that point.
Yeah, my intuition says don't go on the hike.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what my intuition says.
I know this is true. Yeah, I know. I'll come up with a different example
for illustrations purposes.
Just getting it.
I'm totally with you. I'm
But
supporting.
yeah, but it's like, like we've already talked about your integrity, your values, or like I call it legacy, because over the years, like those of us in our 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, like until we wake up to who we are on the inside, your wisdom is within is my motto. you know when you're in your zone. Like some people call it the zone of genius, right? Or you know when you're in it and you're like, I feel happier, I feel more fulfilled, I feel like I'm fucking like just the queen of the world. Not to use empire language, but you know what I mean. And it's just like, I feel like, we can have this boss bitch mentality. Like I'm the boss, I'm a like stellar star. I'm, kicking ass, taking names. And I thought about that in the rat race, but really the zone of purpose is when you're like, I'm leading my life on my terms. Yes, there's systems of oppression. Yes, there's barriers that we have to consider for ourselves, for our sisters, for others who don't identify the way we do. But the point is, I'm getting goosebumps. I'm getting
like
riled
cue
up, but,
applause right here.
I know.
Yeah.
But it's true because but the thing is you have to schlep off, like we talked about, the bullshit of like, you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough, you're not valuable enough, you're too stupid, you're not capable, whatever. The point is we are. It might look different. That's why I like it as a zone, not just a little itty bitty ass path. Like a deer trail, Lauren, you'll get this for hiking. You're like a deer trail where you're like, where the fuck is this going? Or you get lost. Yep. We feel lost in these systems of oppression because it makes us want to, right? Like we're meant to be individuals. But like when we come in community with ourselves, with each other, and what our soul's purpose and mission is here on this planet, big mission, that's what I call it, big purpose, not little purpose. Yep. Our life just opens up. And it's hard to put that in tangible, articulate words, right? But it's like you feel it. And we have all this egoic stuff, I get it, of fears and worries and concerns. And let's not push those away because those are real. It's part about this human experience on this really interesting planet. But like the wisdom within us says, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. We're going to figure this out. And you're going to have a lot of different trailheads that go in different directions, but you're still on the path that you're meant to be on, right?
Thank you so much for tuning in to part 1 of this conversation. We appreciate our listeners more than you could ever know. Stay tuned for part 2 coming soon. In the meantime, if you liked any part of what you heard, please do us a favor and follow the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're willing to go a step further, we would love for you to leave us a review and send this episode to a friend that you feel would be served by it in any way. We are so excited to finally share more about Catalyst, the community we are building in conjunction with this podcast. Our mission with Catalyst is to create an authentic, safe, and inclusive space for heart-centered, growth-minded, multi-passionate women to navigate their life's transitions, all by building meaningful relationships, learning from one another, and growing into the best version of themselves, and maybe even making the world a little bit better in the process. If you're interested in becoming a founding member of Catalyst, we would love to learn more about you and have you apply at wearecatalyst.social. Check it in the show notes. We only have a limited number of spots for this founding member round, so be sure to get your application in soon. Again, the website to apply is wearecatalyst.social. We look forward to the possibility of getting to know you on a deeper level and supporting you in navigating your life's transitions. We cannot wait to have you join us for the next episode. Until then, we encourage you to lean into your community and embrace the growth that inevitably happens when you're in transition. See you next week.